Good morning, everybody. This is Margie Hare, and I have a fabulous guest for us this morning, and she's going to share some fabulous tips for women over 50 or over 40 who are going through menopause and who are going to be given some fabulous tips on how movement and posture is going to help them just cruise through this transitional period. So, as you know, my main objective is to bring guests to you who can give you tips and ways and tools for your toolbox of life to take charge of your health naturally. So welcome, Tracy. I'm so thrilled to have you back. Tracy is from Canada, Toronto, and Tracy has a wealth of experience. She looks after women over 45 to change their bodies as they enter this period, giving them confidence and building strength into their body. So, Tracy, tell me, what took you on this journey?
Hi, Margie. So lovely to be here with you. And people may notice we have the same accent because we are both from South Africa, but living abroad. So wonderful to be here. I love that you talk about taking charge because I have a program called the Reshape Method, and my tagline for the Reshape Method is take charge of your change. So that is amazing, right? And I think the point of that, right, is that we're both giving people ways to take back control, right? Because often in our life, we can feel like we've lost hope and we've lost control, that things are happening to us, that we've tried everything and nothing is working any longer. And so I think we're both offering people, a natural way to take charge of our lives. So that's awesome. I absolutely love the work that you're doing.
Tracy, tell me about why it's so important for not only women over 45, but why is this movement aspect? Why should we have a movement coach?
Great question. Okay, so let me just step back a bit, and maybe if I tell you a little bit about my journey, it will make more sense, okay? Because movement is actually, movement coaching, movement and posture coaching is actually a second career for me. I was trained and worked and had my own business as an editor. I edited academic publications for some of the biggest non-governmental organizations in South Africa. And then when we immigrated to Canada 13 years ago, I carried on doing my editing work. I also taught yoga part-time. I was very active. I'd been doing yoga since I was like 15 years old in the 1980s, before it was popular. But then in my mid-40s, I started getting all sorts of symptoms. I started getting backache and hip pain. I started, gaining weight, and my shape was changing. And so I did what, everybody tells you to do. I started eating less and exercising more. And I had like this carousel of health service providers that I was going through, the physio, chiropractor, acupuncture, massage, all of it. I was trying everything. And all my specialists were amazing, but they were just spot treating me, right? So I'd feel great for a day or two, but then the back pain and the hip pain and the neck pain and the foot pain and everything would come right back. And even though I was eating the same and exercising the same, and sometimes even eating less and exercising more, nothing was really making a difference, right? My clothes were getting tighter. I was feeling, just like old and fatigued, and I was only in my mid-40s, right? And so I was getting increasingly dejected and frustrated and depressed with the whole situation, because if this was how I was feeling in my 40s, I didn't want to think of how I would feel in my 50s or 60s or 70s. So I kept looking and searching for a solution, because I've always been a bit of a rebel at heart. And my amazing massage therapist at the time introduced me to the work of a US-based biomechanist whose name is Katie Bowman. And, I had nothing to lose. I thought, well, I'm ready to try everything. I've tried everything up until this point. Let me check out this woman. And Katie takes a biomechanics approach, whole body approach to the body, and natural movement approach. So I bought a book called Move Your DNA, and I highly encourage everybody to buy it. And you know, they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Well, this is it. This was it for me. This was really the missing piece in my movement and aging puzzle. And her work resonated so much, and her natural movement approach really gave me such relief that I decided to go and study with her. So I did her 2-year certification, and I'm really, really pleased I did it, because she no longer trains students anymore. And I certified as a restorative exercise specialist. And then I followed up that work with other certifications and started specializing in perimenopause and menopause, because I think that like the 45 plus age group is very, very underserved. And the exercise and nutrition advice that works for men or works for women in their 20s and 30s does not work for women over 45, because we have a different hormonal makeup. And so that is how I got to be a movement and posture specialist. I eventually, closed my editing business and decided to do this full time, because I really just wanted to spread the love and knowledge and hope to other women who were feeling stuck, who were feeling like they had tried everything and nothing was working, that there is actually something missing. Right. So if anybody out there is listening to it, if you feel like you're trying everything and you've got a sense that something is missing, let me tell you, something is missing. And that something is more of a focus on movement and less of a focus on exercise. And importantly, fixing our alignment.
Well, isn't that amazing? So with that information, is that your key objective, why people should firstly have a movement coach? Is that the most important thing, or is it a series of things that go together as a movement coach, coaching somebody through this period?
Yeah, so what I have done as a movement coach, I worked for a long time one-on-one with people. And what I realized was that people couldn't really get the kind of transformation I wanted them to get in one-on-one sessions, where you meet once a month or whatever. What the work is that we do, okay, the kind of point of the work, and maybe that will make more sense as to what it is that I do, because I can't really tell you what a movement coach is, okay, because people don't really have a frame of reference for what it is until they've experienced it. It's very, very experiential. I can tell you what it isn't, okay? It isn't yoga, it isn't physio, it isn't personal training, it isn't Pilates. It's kind of this blend, although I'm certified in a lot of those things. I'm not a physiotherapist though. I am a certified yoga teacher and a certified personal trainer. It's kind of this blend of things. So it really is something that you have to experience in order to understand what it is that I do. Because the thing is that our bodies only know what they know. We move and we walk and we exercise and we do all these things just in a way that we know, right? So movement coaching is like trying to describe, and I hope nobody finds this analogy offensive, trying to describe what the color blue looks like to somebody who is blind. Like you can't understand what it is because it is so experiential. So what I'm really doing as a movement coach is giving this series of exercises that actually get your body working well again. But then my key job as a movement coach then, because you can look up these exercises, right? They're no secret. You can look them up in like Katie Bowman's book. The thing that makes me different as a movement coach is that people will do those exercises based on their current alignment or misalignment, as the case may be. But also, and I'm even talking about something like walking, okay? You'll do that based on your current misalignment plus on the movement cheats and compensations that you have developed in order to get that task done. And the only way you can make progress and move in a different way is if you have somebody with a trained eye watching you move, right? Like even watching you do a press up, watching you walk, and showing you where your cheats and compensations are. Because if we keep moving the same way, and if we keep exercising the same way, we're going to keep recreating the same shape and the same aches and pains. So I don't know if that makes sense. It's when you show somebody a different way to move, right? The brain can do it. It's like, oh, you want me to do that? Yeah, I can do that. But your body's not going to do that as a movement choice or a movement option unless somebody shows you how to do that. So that's where the magic is.
So how could a person like me who's over 45 access this information? If I say, yes, I do walk and I do stretch and do paddle dragon boats and I also do stand-up paddleboard, and still I've got a few things in the wrong place. So how does a person who is really wanting to do and move forward through this period, how do they access this information from you or by you?
So great question. Thank you. So what I've done is that I have taken this whole series of corrective exercises, which are really quite boring because the purpose of the corrective exercises, okay, let me just pull this back a little bit, okay, is that in order for our bodies to even begin to move and work well, in terms of any movement that we do, whether that be paddleboarding or walking, our most foundational structure, which is our skeleton, needs to be in as good a condition as possible, okay? Now, our skeleton is meant to resemble the skeleton in your doctor's office, right? Every skeleton you see all looks the same, right? The bones are in particular places. Would you agree with me? Like,
absolutely.
The skeleton isn't just this jumble mishmash of like anything in any places. The skeleton that we see, like the skeleton in your doctor's office, is in what is called anatomical neutral. Okay, in other words, the rib cage is at a certain angle, the pelvis is at a certain angle, the femurs are at a certain angle, right? So the skeletal structure of the body, which is the most foundational structure of the body, all right? I don't know if you would agree with me on that. Like everything comes off from where our bones are and how, because the skeleton, right, is what is moving us. The problem is, by the time we get to like about the age of 45, our skeletons no longer resemble the skeleton in the doctor's office. They don't, right? Things, and this is not even something like we even really think about, but it's very, very important. Our skeletons are no longer in anatomical neutral, and that means that the most basic foundational structure of the body is misaligned, and therefore everything else that you do from there is going to be problematic, because the bones are the muscles of the body are attached to the bones, and if the bones are no longer at the right angle or at the right place relative to each other and relative to gravity, then the joints and the muscles can no longer work properly. So this was the missing piece for me, the biomechanics piece, the really going back to basics, doing this series of corrective exercises that puts us back into anatomical neutral. And I'll show you over here for those people watching this, right? We want to look like the skeleton. For most of us, we no longer look like the skeleton. So we need to do a series of corrective exercises that gets us stronger where we need strength, longer where we need length, bringing full range of motion back into our joints. And that's what keeps us young, and that's what keeps us aging audaciously. That's what helps us to get the shape we want. because you can do all the glute bridges and leg lifts in the gym till the cows come home, okay? But if your brain cannot find your butt in a gait cycle, then that glute muscle may as well not even be there.
It won't get fired up.
Because we are moving human beings. We're not pot plants, right? What happens to our body, what happens to our aches and pains, if these aches and pains are caused by musculoskeletal reasons, it's what happens to us when we're moving. That's why often people will go to the doctor or the podiatrist or whatever, and they will look at the person stationary and diagnose them stationary. They won't look at what is happening when the person moves. And it's when we are moving, that is what makes the difference, because that is how things are firing. That is the angle that things are moving, right? So what I'm doing as a posture coach, I call it posture, but it's really alignment. But if I use the word alignment, people won't really know what I'm meaning, which is why I use the word posture, because posture and alignment are not actually interchangeable. And we can talk about that in a minute, because that is quite critical. So in answer to your question, there's a whole series of corrective exercises, similar to exercises like your physio would give you to kind of rehab like a sore foot or a sore hip or something, okay? And so there's a series of corrective exercises that we do to bring the body back into proper alignment. Those exercises, however, are kind of hellish boring. I don't know if you ever had like physio exercises, you do them for a week and then you're like, I literally can't do these anymore. These are just too boring, right? So what I've done is I've taken this series of corrective exercises, and because I have a dance and yoga background, I've weaved them into these half-hour workouts that are really fun and engaging. And I have made an online program called the Reshape Method, because what's important about doing these corrective exercises, if you want to get the result that you want, right, which is to lose the aches and pains, get the silhouette you love, and age with audacious confidence and strength, these exercises need to be done consistently. They need to be done every day, which is why I stopped doing the one-on-one coaching where I see somebody once a month, and I made an online program with pre-recorded videos so that people can do these workouts every day, because that is what is required to get the change you need, right? So they're only half an hour long. You do them online in your own time, but then for motivation and accountability and support and things like that, I have a Facebook group where we do weekly group coaching and we support each other. And then, because I said right at the beginning that having an eye of a trained movement coach on you makes all the difference, I also still, in my Reshape Method program, have 3 private sessions with people and point out their movement cheats and compensations, because that is what's really going to move the needle. But that needs to be done in conjunction with doing the daily corrective exercises or magic moves. So
Tracy, that is what you're offering is absolutely so unique. I've never heard of it. I know so many people who could benefit from what you're doing. It's absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, I mean, I know there's the program and I know there's the Facebook group. You mentioned to me earlier, which is fascinating because, I mean, most people over 45 like me, I have a walking program. So tell me about your walking program.
So, well, I have a main Facebook group. If anybody would like to join it, it's called the Peri and Menopause Movement Club, which is a group of about 2,000 phenomenal women around the world who want to look better, feel better, and age well. And I offer tons of free resources in that group. And at the moment, and this is the end of April, but I do offer this twice a year, I'm offering a 5-day walking challenge called Reshape Your Walk, and it will reshape your menopause. And what we do in the walking challenge, because walking is such an important movement for the human body to do, right? It really is overlooked. But I'm so pleased that, things like COVID really brought back walking. Walking is the new black. The thing is that I often hear from people that they're doing their 10,000 steps, they're doing a walking program, they're not really seeing any difference from that, right? And the reason for that is because not all walking is created equal. As I said, because most of us have this skeleton that is misaligned, that means that even the way we walk is not going to be optimal. Just going out and walking is great. Better to just walk the way you're walking now than not walk. So please go and walk. But what I'm really showing people in the walking challenge is that there is actually a more optimal way to walk. Most of us are actually doing what is called a falling walk. In other words, we're kind of hinging at the hip, lifting the knee, and just falling forward and breaking that fall with our knee. The way we actually are meant to walk is what's called a posterior driven push-off, where it's almost like, have you ever been rowing, right? It's probably similar to the paddle boarding, where you have to push back against the resistance of the water in order to propel yourself forward. Well, that is actually how we're meant to be walking, with a lot of glute strength, with the gait coming from the back of our body and not from the front. But 99.9% of the people who I see walk and who come to me for movement coaching are doing a falling walk rather than a posterior push-off. But and that's actually one of the main aims of the Reshape Method, because it's through the series of corrective exercises, through understanding your movement cheats, that your body just naturally falls more into this butt-driven walk, because big, healthy, strong butts make big, healthy, strong bodies. Butts are crucial, and most of us are not walking with our butts anymore. We're walking with our hip flexors and our quads, which lands up over time being problematic.
I find that I'm almost thinking now, I need to get onto this immediately. I wonder
yes, you should.
How many other women who are listening to this and who are hearing the audio are going to say, yes, I want this. Would you mind just repeating your Facebook group that anybody can join?
Yes, absolutely. It is called Peri and an ampersand and Peri and Menopause Movement Club. Or if you go into Facebook, the URL, if you just type into Facebook, it's facebook.com/groups/Peri and Menopause Club.
I've got it. Okay, I'll tell you what, we will have that at the bottom so people won't have to worry. They'll find it really, really easily. That is fantastic. And, you know, when we spoke earlier, you said there was a freebie that any of our listeners or anyone tuning in
yes.
and seeing the recording, what is it that they can access to help them on this journey before they actually join you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a free quiz. It's called the Posture and Alignment Quiz, where in that quiz, I'm showing you 3 alignment points, because what happens is that this was certainly in my mind, and have you ever heard the posture cues from your mum or your teacher? Stand straight, shoulders back, chest up, tummy in, right? When people say, like, stand tall, that's what we do, right? Have you ever done that? Yeah, we do that all the time. That is posture.
Oops,
right? That is posture. Posture is the way we look. And what happens when we do these cues actually is that we're rearranging our bones so that we look better, so that we're not stooped, so we don't have this dowager's hump. But all we're doing is we're rearranging our parts. You've still got those issues that are making you kind of slouched over. You're not actually fixing those issues. You're just rearranging your parts to look better. But what you've done is you've squeezed your shoulders together and you've lifted your rib cage. So what you've actually done is you completely turned off your core, because look at Skelly. Skelly doesn't have a lifted rib cage. Skelly has a flat rib cage. Skelly's breastbone is vertical to the body. It's not lifted up. When we do this lift through the spine to make it look like we're not slouched over, we slouched over because we slouched over. We slouched over because our spine is dropped forward. Going like this is not fixing the problem with the spine. You're just putting tension and shearing forces through your vertebra because you've lifted your rib cage. And now you're hurting your back and you've turned off your core, because your core system cannot work when you lift your ribs, because that is alignment. Posture is the way we look, and alignment is the way we work. Okay, so alignment is the way things line up relative to each other, right? We all understand alignment in the concept of like the wheels of the car, right? We know that the wheels of our car need to be properly aligned, otherwise what's going to happen, right? We get wear and tear of the tires, the car veers off to the side, and we have to keep going like that. We understand that, right? So the same with our bodies. There is a mechanical component to our bodies, which is just really overlooked, right? We focus on the biology, we focus on the chemistry, we focus so much on the food that we eat, but because we are moving human beings with skeletons, there's this big biomechanical component that we just don't give any attention to, because it's just not something really that's out there. And so my mission is to, make biomechanics sexy. Yeah, I
don't know. so this promotion, they go onto your website and they complete that that questionnaire. Is that what it is?
It's a quiz where I'm asking people to look at 3 alignment points.
Fabulous. So they can go on there, and then do you give them feedback on that?
Yes, if they submit their results from the quiz and book a call with me, I can absolutely give them feedback.
Fantastic, because I hope you are ready for the deluge. I think there are going to be so many people who just need that lift and that guidance. And Tracy, I love your passion, I love your background, and I can just hear your depth of knowledge in this area that you have specialized in. So from all our listeners, I just want to thank you so much for sharing all that knowledge and the generous offer that anybody who wants to take that quiz will get some one-on-one guidance to take the next step. And I actually really like that walking challenge. I think I'm going to be the next one on that. So you said it's only twice a year. When does it start?
So it's actually started at the moment. Today is April 27th for anybody who's
okay, so the next one is in?
The next one is usually in fall. It's usually towards the end of October, early November, but you can still join the spring one, okay? So come and join my Facebook group, and you'll see all the posts there, and people are sharing posts of their walks from all around the world. It is so much fun, and you can still catch up. We're on day 3 today. You can still catch up, and the replays will be available in the group for the next month. So you still will be able to catch up. So and then if you want to join the next one from the beginning, you'll see it. I'll start to advertise that in October.
Well, I think that was one of the best interviews I've had, because that knowledge is so totally unique, and I think we can all benefit from that. So Tracy, from me, thank you so much, and from our listeners, I'm sure they're going to benefit enormously. Have a marvelous day, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for having me here. Bye.